everyone. So today we're discussing another thesis statement from our course, Philosophy of Religion. So the thesis statement reads, William Paley's analogical theological argument claims that nature has a divine designer. It uses analogy to support its claim. The anthropic theological argument, which is the cosmological version of the theological argument, holds that the universe has a divine designer instead of analogy. However, it uses scientific data about the universe after the Big Bang. Thomas Aquinas' argument from governance is similar to Paley's argument, but Thomas' God is fundamentally different from Paley's divine designer. So imagine you're walking across the desert. You kick a stone. If someone asks you how that stone got there, you might say it's already been there forever. But now imagine a watch, a man-made watch, lying on the desert. Would you say that the watch has always been there? No, I don't think so. Why? Because you inspect the watch and you see parts that frame together, that are put together for a specific purpose, to tell time. This is the famous argument proposed by William Paley. In 1802, he argued that the watch has complex parts, springs, chains, wheels, all adjusted to produce motion. This complexity and purpose forces us to conclude that there is an intelligent designer. Paley then pulls a switch. He says, look at nature, look at the human eye, or the way wings are formed. Nature shows the exact same complexity as the watch, but to a degree that exceeds all computations. So this is the analogical theological argument, and it relies on analogy. So the first point about this argument is that, like machines, watches are produced by intelligent design. Nature resembles a machine, therefore nature had an intelligent designer. So here's the part that arises objections against William Paley's argument. So David Hume here argues, does not agree with Paley, does not agree that the universe is like a watch. Long before Paley was Hume, David Hume, and he wrote a dialogue tearing this analogy apart. Hume argues that analogies only work when two things being compared are extremely similar. If you see a house, you know it has an architect, but is the universe really a house? Hume points out three major flaws in the design argument by William Paley. The weakness of analogy. We have seen houses being built, we have seen the universe, we have never seen the universe rebuilt. Furthermore, the universe looks less like a machine and more something organic, like a vegetable or an animal. Does a vegetable need a mechanic to grow? No, it grows from within. The second point is the problem of anthropomorphism. If we say the designer is like a human mind, we run into a theological error. Humans make mistakes. Ships are often botched and bungled before the carpenter gets it right. It's a universe a botched attempt by infinite deity. The analogy holds. Why assume there is one God? Houses have been built by teams of construction workers. Maybe the universe was built by a committee of gods. Hume points out the third point, flaw in the argument of design. Hume argues that just because we see design in a tiny corner of the universe, like the spider spinning a web or the human brain thinking, we cannot assume the entire universe works that way. That's like looking at a single strand of your hair and defining the whole person. But then comes the scientific plot twist. Hume suggested that matter might have its own internal principle of order, even if he didn't know what it was. Later, Charles Darwin provided that principle, natural selection. The objection here is that biological matter organizes itself through random mutations. If a mutation helps an organism to survive, it is passed on. Over millions of years, this creates the illusion of design without a designer. So if biology can be explained by evolution, is the argument of design dead? Which brings us to our response, the fine-tuning comeback. So Is the design argument dead? Not quite. Modern thinkers like Robin Collins and Frederick Tennant, they moved the argument away from biology to physics. Biology in a sense which explains evolution, and physics in a sense which cannot explain evolution. So this is the anthropic theological and argument. Remember we had a previous argument on the analogical theological argument, and now with Robin Collins and Frederick Tennant we have the anthropic theological argument, known as the fine-tuning argument. So instead of looking at an eye, look at the fundamental laws of the universe. If it was, let's talk about gravity. If it were slightly stronger, stars would burn out too fast for life. Slightly weaker, no stars would be formed at all. The strong nuclear force in the Big Bang, a one change, would prevent carbon from forming. No carbon means no life. So it is fine-tuned to zero. If it were slightly larger, the universe would expand too fast for planets to form. The probability of all these stars being set to the exact right number by accident is staggeringly low, like throwing up dots from space onto Earth. So the conclusion, the universe wasn't just an accident, it was fine-tuned for life. So we come up with Aquinas' argument. So we look to the medieval philosopher Thomas Aquinas, and his argument is slightly different. He calls it the argument from governance. He views God as a mechanic who builds a watch and he believes it to work. Aquinas believes God as a director. Aquinas observes that this thing without intelligence, like an arrow, acts towards a specific goal, hitting the target. An arrow cannot aim itself, it needs an archer. Similarly, natural bodies, like planets orbiting or seeds growing, they lack intelligence, but act in regular, predictable patterns to achieve specific ends. So the key difference here between Paley and Aquinas is that Paley's argument from design focuses on the complexity of the parts, the gears. The design explains the regularity. Aquinas' argument from governance focuses on the behavior, the fact that nature follows laws and all requires a governor to sustain and direct it moment by moment. So to conclude, we have three ways of looking at why the world looks the way it does. First one, Bailey says that the world is like a machine, therefore there must be a mechanic. Number two, the anthropic principle says that the map of the universe is just too perfect to be just analogical view. And Aquinas' third says behavior of nature requires a constant guide, like an archer shooting arrow. This proves absolute. As Hume reminded us, analogies only give us probability, not certainty. But for proponents, the cumulative effect of the evidence makes the existence of the designer the most rational explanation. Is the universe a watch, a random lottery win, or an arrow flying towards a target? That is for you to decide. Thank you.